Distant thunder, heavy rain pattering on leaves, old ranger radio static. Distressed male voice on radio, ragged breathing. Hello? Anyone? Copy. We're off the trail. There's something out here, in the dark. It's following us. Sharp crack of a tree branch, faint scream. Then radio dissolves into harsh static. 3-second silence. Only dripping rain. Narrator, calm, low, slightly ominous. That recording was logged at the Fernwood Ranger Station on the night of July 18, 2019. Rangers searched for 2 days. They never found the hikers, only their backpacks, torn and soaked at the foot of an ancient redwood. Wind moaning through tall trees, a single owl call in distance. Narrator. Locals whisper that the giant trees of Fernwood remember every scream that's ever echoed beneath their canopy, and sometimes, when the forest goes still, you can hear those screams come back as a whisper. Narrator. This is the story of 4 friends who went camping one summer weekend and wandered straight into the legend locals call. The listening trees, daytime ambience, car tires crunching on gravel road, muffled classic rock on radio. Narrator. On a bright July afternoon, college friends Evan, Lila, Marcus, and Zoe pulled their SUV off Highway 101 onto an unmarked service road. The forest rose around them like cathedral walls, trunks as wide as trucks, crowns so high the sunlight dripped through in dusty shafts of gold. Lila laughed teasing. Wow, these trees are like something out of a fairy tale. Hope no Bigfoot jumps out. Marcus, half joking. Relax, it's just trees. Woods don't bite, usually. Wind in leaves, far off woodpecker engine shutting off. Narrator. The road ended at a weather-beaten wooden sign. Fernwood Recreation Area, Campsite D. One of the letters had fallen away, leaving a jagged nail sticking out like a splintered tooth. Narrator. While unloading gear, Evan noticed a warning notice stapled crookedly to the signpost. The paper was faded, edges curled with damp, but the black ink words still clear enough. Stay on marked trails, do not wander after dark. Evan, frowning, reading. Kinda dramatic for a state park, huh? Zoe. Probably just about bears or something. SFX. Distant deep creaking, like wood shifting. Wind gust hushes leaves. Narrator. Slower. A hush swept through the trees. No birdsong, no insects, only the distant creak of something massive shifting in the woods. Evan glanced into the forest. For a second, he thought he saw a shadow move against the direction of the wind. But when he blinked, there was nothing. Tent zippers, metal clank of cookware, muffled laughter. Narrator. By dusk, the tents were pitched, and a small fire cracked and spat pine resin sparks. As darkness thickened between the trunks, the friends' laughter felt small, almost swallowed by the immensity of the trees. Marcus, to break tension. You guys ever hear the story of the Fernwood Whispers? No. SFX. Fire crackle louder. Faint night crickets begin but sound slightly distant as if muffled. Narrator, lower, leaning in. Marcus grinned, ready to tell a ghost story, but none of them noticed the way the wind had died completely, or how the fire smoke curled straight up, as if the air itself was holding its breath. Low campfire crackle, distant night crickets, an occasional owl far away. Marcus, dramatic tone. Okay, so legend says the redwoods here, they're older than anything. They listen when you talk, and if you speak your fear aloud, the trees whisper it back to you in the dark. Lila, mock-spooked, hugging knees. That's comforting. Thanks for that, Marcus. Zoe, half laughing but uneasy. I'm just saying, This whole place already feels like it's staring at us. Sudden faint rustle in the bushes behind them. Evan turns head. Did you hear that? Narrator. Low, measured. They all did. A soft brush of leaves, as if something large slid past the shrubs just beyond the firelight's reach. No footsteps, no animal eyes glinting back, only silence again. Too complete. Music, thin single violin note begins under narration, holds uneasily then fades. Night deepens, crickets fade out, faint tree trunk creaking in the windless dark. Narrator. Around 9 p.m., a milky fog seeped between the tree trunks, curling low to the ground like slow-moving breath. The warmth of the campfire shrank to a tight orange circle against the cold black forest. Very faint overlapping whispers, almost like wind, but with broken syllables, barely audible. Zoe whispers, "Did you guys just hear voices?" Evan, shaking head, forcing laugh. "It's just the fog playing tricks." Narrator, slower, hushed, but the sound came again. Long, drawn out, like a crowd mumbling far away yet somehow weaving between the trees. If you listened too long, the whispers almost shaped into words. Your own name carried on a breath of air. A single, far-off snap of a breaking twig. Lila, startled. Okay. That was not the fog. Zipping tent flaps muffled panic. Narrator. The unease thickened. They decided to check the trail sign they passed earlier to reassure themselves. Flashlights cut narrow tunnels through the mist as they stepped beyond the campfire glow. Soft crunch of pine needles underfoot. Distant drip of dew off leaves. Narrator. But when they reached the path where the gravel road should have met the campsite, the signpost was gone. Not broken, not fallen, simply not there. As if the forest had closed its mouth over it. Marcus, voice rising. We literally parked right here. How can a sign just disappear? Music, low cello pulse, heartbeat slow. Narrator. Zoe swung her beam left and right, finding only endless identical pillars of redwood stretching in every direction, trunks fading upward into blank fog. Fog-muffled footsteps, flashlight click flickers. Narrator. The deeper they searched for the road, the more the trees seemed to lean inward. Even the moss hanging from branches looked like drooping, listening ears. Low, distant breathing sound, not human, slow and heavy. Zoe, hushed, terrified. Evan, point your light. Right there. Narrator. Half hidden by the mist stood a figure, tall, unmoving. Its outline rippled like heat waves in the beam, as if it was not quite solid. And then, it tilted its head, the motion slow, curious, almost childlike. Flashlight bulb pops with a spark. Lila screams muffled. It's gone! Narrator. The shape dissolved back into the fog without a sound, leaving only the cold hush of the woods. Hurried footsteps crunching back toward camp, breathless voices. Narrator. Shaken and silent, the four stumbled back toward the dim orange flicker of their fire. The flame had burned low, now barely alive, though no one had left it untended. Firewood collapsing with a sigh, night again quiet. Narrator, slow beat, setting next act's dread. None of them spoke of what they'd seen. None of them noticed the whisper that rose again just behind them. Low, rasping, as if the trees themselves were repeating a new word. Stay. Deep nighttime hush, occasional wood creak high in the canopy, fog dripping from leaves. Narrator, low measured. By midnight, the forest had turned so still that the sound of a single ember shifting in the fire seemed loud. One by one, the friends crawled into their tents, but none of them truly slept. The air felt thick, charged, as if the trees themselves were leaning close to listen to every breath. Slow inhale, exhale, not matching any of the campers' breathing. Zoe, half-awake whisper. Evan, do you hear that? Someone's breathing outside Evan. Groggy, hushed. It's just the wind. Narrator. But there was no wind, faint scraping, like claws along tent fabric growing slightly louder. Stops suddenly. Narrator. A thin, dry scratching traced the nylon wall of Zoe's tent. She held her breath, too afraid to unzip the flap. Outside, the campfire gave a sudden hiss, as though something wet had been tossed into the coals. And then the last flames went dark. Music, low sustained cello with pulse beat rhythm. Marcus, from his tent, whisper yelling, Guys, someone's walking around out there. Narrator. Footsteps circled their tents in slow, deliberate arcs, pine needles crunching softly, never hurrying, always just outside the edge of sight. Tent zipper jerks open fast. Hurried footsteps. Narrator. Evan finally unzipped his tent and froze. The space where Marcus's tent had been pitched was empty. Only 4 pegs remained driven into the earth. The ropes stretched taut into nothing, as though the rest of the tent had been plucked away without a sound. Distant muffled shout of Marcus, far off in the trees, echoing strangely, direction hard to tell. Marcus, faint, panicked calling, Over here! Can't find the trail! Lila, trembling whisper, We have to go after him. We can't just leave him out there. Narrator. They grabbed their flashlights as 3 narrow cones of light cutting across the grey fog and stepped back into the dark maze of trunks. Boots crunch over wet earth, distant branches breaking under unseen weight above. Narrator. The deeper they pushed, the stranger the forest grew. The same burnt-out log appeared again and again on the trail. The same crooked-limbed redwood scarred by lightning. No matter which direction they turned, they always came back to the same spot. A rough circle of 7 giant trees with roots like black ribs clawing out of the ground. Low wind rising suddenly between trunks, faint chorus-like whisper, many voices overlapping. Zoe, near tears. We're walking in circles. I swear those trees are moving when we are not looking. Narrator. In the center of the circle lay Marcus's flashlight, still on, beam pointed upward. But Marcus himself was nowhere in sight. The beam lit the branches above, and for an instant caught the shape of something crouched high in the crook of 2 limbs. Its face was in shadow, but its fingers were long, bark thin, and dug into the wood as if it were part of the tree itself. Flashlight drops to ground with a thud. Someone gasps sharply. Narrator, slower, darker. A single word rolled down from the branches, not quite human, drawn out on a breath that rattled like dry leaves. Stay! Forest hushes. All crickets stop. Distant hollow knocking like wood on wood. Narrator. The air turned icy damp. Fog wrapped around their ankles like grasping hands. Evan seized Lila's arm and they bolted, crashing through the brush, running blindly toward what they hoped was the campsite. Running footsteps, heavy breath, branches snapping back, something huge moving parallel to them unseen. Narrator. Behind them, the whispers rose to a fever, no longer distant, but close, at their ears, hundreds of voices repeating the same 2 words over and over. Stay with us. Stay with us. Stay.